Kaya Wanju. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay my respects to elders past and present in the spirit of reconciliation, particularly their parents who've been parenting right where we sit or stand for many, many thousands of years. My name's Belinda Smith. I'm from Miralinga Parenting Service, and I'd like to welcome you today to the Calm and Confident Parenting webinar series. Today's session is on helping your child learn to use the potty. And I want to thank you, whether you're here in person or whether you're listening in later. Thank you so much for everything it took for you to listen in today. I know it's not easy to carve out this time. Today's session will just be a short 25 to 30 minutes just to give you some ideas, steps, strategies to help your child learn to use the potty. So to start with, Miralinga is an organisation that's existed here in Western Australia for over 100 years to support the needs of families. We have centres all around Perth, and particularly I work from our Hilton Centre supporting parents and families as part of Miralinga's parenting service under the Southwest Metro Parenting banner. Our key messages for today. So if you're listening in later, you'll be able to see these on the PowerPoint presentation that I'll share with you. But essentially, we're going to be looking at three key ideas about helping your child learn to use the potty. Number one is signs that your child is ready. Number two, steps to support them. Number three, setbacks, because there's almost always setbacks and ideas to help. And then a little addition, which is remember to get support for yourself. So the four S's today is what we're going to be covering. It's really important to note that you can't force a flower to grow. And in the same way, you're never going to win a power struggle with your child over their body. So supporting their potty learning is not about making them go in any way, shape, or form. It's about providing the conditions so that they feel safe and ready to engage in this process that pretty much everyone does. So the first thing we need to do is just look and see what the signs are that your child is ready. There's three parts to this: physical, cognitive, and emotional. So in terms of physical readiness, your child generally would be somewhere between 2 and 4 years of age. Now, I know people do sometimes start earlier than this, but from the science, the key really is not to rush or shame or pressure the child in any way. According to a 2008 publication, attempts to engage in intensive toilet training before a child is 2 may hold absolutely no benefit and in fact might create unnecessary stress around toileting. And it might actually make the actual training period longer than it is than when starting later. So by intensive, it means asking a child more than 3 times a day to use the toilet. So this study also notes that girls usually master toileting a little bit younger than boys. And it's really important to know that only between 40 and 60% of children currently complete toilet training by the age of 3. So this is a real process that our children are going through, and it does take a long time. So the first developmental readiness check might be, is my child sort of around 2 or a little bit over 2? And bowel movement free overnight is a key point, and the idea that they stay dry for over 2 hours at a time. So if this is a series of checklists that your child meets, then it might be that they're ready. But there's more signs than just these physical signs. So then we move on to cognitive. Your child really needs to understand the concepts involved. They need to understand what poo and pee are, where they come from, and where they should go. And they also need to be able to communicate to you around when they need to go. Finally, the other aspect to consider is emotional readiness. This is probably the biggest one. They need to have a real sense of confidence in themselves. They need to have a desire to use the potty or the toilet. And there's also some really difficult to gauge aspects of their emotional readiness around other fears getting entwined with potty learning. And this is often what happens when there are setbacks. We'll talk a little bit more about this. So those three key elements, you need to have a little look and see, does my child fit those in terms of developmental readiness? And if so, then it might be time to start setting up the conditions to help them succeed. One of the first things you can do, and you can start doing this quite early, is reading stories and books to your child. There are some lovely books about potty training, some gender neutral books like On My Potty by Leslie Patrick here that we've got on the screen, and just all sorts of lovely books to give you some ideas. My advice would be to have a read through first and make sure it aligns with your family values and the kinds of messages you're wanting to send to your child. But this can be a really lovely way for them to get a sense of what's involved. It's also important that we're giving them information about bodies, about the process, so that they're within their developmental stage able to understand what's happening. For a child that's been in nappies for the first 2 years, it's a huge change to suddenly be asked to have a different system, a different process in place. So explaining that process can help to alleviate their fears. Another step we can take to support them is modeling, so they actually see us going to the toilet or perhaps see other children going to the toilet. This can really help them understand what's going on. Something I suggest is sports casting, where we talk through what's happening. So we might say, "Oh, I've got a funny feeling in my tummy. I think that might mean that I need to do a wee." "Yep, it does. Okay, I need to walk to the toilet. I need to pull my pants down." And we really talk through everything, which, of course, is not something we're doing when we're out and about, but giving them that overview of what's happening right down to the micro moment can really help their processing and understanding. And another thing we can try is role playing with their toys. "Oh, Teddy needs to go to the toilet. What should he do next?" And giving them the opportunity to work through exactly what steps there are. Putting a potty in each of the main living areas is a really nice thing to do. So not just in the toilet or the bathroom to start with, so that they can get experience in just sitting fully clothed on that potty. There's a whole series of skills and abilities and capacities that our child needs to build before they can use the toilet. And one of those is muscle memory. So actually just squatting down is a particular set of muscles that they may not have really experienced using that much before. So even just having the opportunity to sit fully clothed on the potty is going to help with that scaffolding of skills. Once they are fairly confident sitting fully clothed, you might try once when they're naked, just getting them to sit. And another point is to have books or toys close by to help them sit just that little bit longer. Obviously, the longer they're sitting on the potty, the more likely they are to actually have some success in filling it. So these are some simple ways to just sort of joyfully and with lots of fun help them learn what it feels like to just sit there. Another idea to help support them is just for them to have an understanding that poo and pee go in the potty or the toilet, so that they don't put anything else in there, as certainly I had that experience, and I'm sure some of you will too, that other things might get posted in the toilet, but just helping them to learn that poo and pee go in the toilet. Um, and part of that might be that with their nappies, when they do a poo in the nappy, you take it into the toilet with them and say, "Oh, poo goes in the toilet. There we go. Tip it into the toilet." Obviously, not the nappy goes in the toilet, just the poo. And then they can flush it away, um, so that they can get a sense of what this is all about and what's happening. Now, some experts suggest celebrating with your child when they do use the potty, and I would say that that's lovely, but be very careful to be celebrating other things as well, so that there's not a huge amount of pressure on this one aspect of their lives. And in fact, my experience was that a more matter-of-fact congratulatory tone was better. So, "Oh, well done, honey, that's great." Just in the same way you would with any other thing that they've done. "Oh, great, you put your plate up on the sink. That's fantastic. Thank you." Because too much pressure can be a little bit much for them. So you know your child best, you're the expert in your family, but really consider, is a song and a dance what's going to support them best, or is a matter of fact sense of achievement preferable. In terms of underwear, it's a great idea to go with your child's initiation there when they ask for underwear, then to introduce it and to allow that to be something that they call the shots on. And whether you use pull ups or not is again something that each family will need to figure out for themselves. Some families think they're wonderful because children get that experience of pulling them up and down like undies. Others don't like them because they don't get quite the same sense of wetness if they do have an accident. Obviously, that's completely up to you and your family, and you can experiment and see what works best. At the start, it's a good idea to notice when they need to poo. Children usually give some signs. My beautiful boy used to say, "Privacy, please," and we'd go and squat behind the couch. But noticing when they need to poo and suggesting that they go into the bathroom or toilet so they get a sense of, when I get this feeling, this is where I need to go. And then from there, they're pooing in their nappy and you can say, "Oh, well done, you were in the bathroom. Great, now let's tip it in the toilet." And very soon they make that progression to sitting on the toilet or the potty. It is really important to ensure that they're very comfortable and that physiologically their bodies are in the best position possible for toileting. So dangling legs on a big person's toilet is really not ideal for them. And in fact, it may increase feelings of fear or worry. So I really suggest that steps or something to rest their feet on is very helpful. It's also a good idea to have regular potty times for everyone so that they're not sort of being singled out, but that in the morning, after breakfast or before we go out, everyone goes to the toilet. Who's going first? Shall I go first or would you like to go first? Race you to the toilet. I bet you can't beat me. So having regular potty times for everyone helps to build a sense that this is just what we do and also can get their bodies into that lovely rhythm that helps them over time. A really important step to support them is that you have an understanding that accidents are absolutely going to happen and that how we respond to those accidents is a really important part of the process. So bringing a really warm tone is a powerful way to support them. "Oh, well, accidents are how we learn. Soon you'll get it in the potty every time. Let's go in and try again." And really having an understanding that accidents help with learning. That's a life skill for our children generally, that growth mindset of fantastic, you made a mistake and you learned something new. So well done. You noticed that you needed to go to the potty. You didn't make it in time today, but next time, I bet you'll notice sooner. You're learning all the time. I bet you feel so good about how much you're learning. So really bringing that growth mindset is a powerful way to support them. The most important elements, and I guess the most important thing I hope that you take away from listening in today is that pushiness, any kind of punishment or disapproval can have really long-lasting negative effects. Almost all children naturally want to find their way to using the potty or the toilet, and they want things to go well. Almost all children will have multiple accidents and multiple setbacks. That kind of spiraling process of development is very normal, where they do really well for a while and then they have a setback. And even it's very normal for them to stand and look at you and wheel over the floor. This is all part of the process. So if we can bring a real sense of warmth and care and support to that, relaxed, supportive and encouraging, that is going to build their confidence in such beautiful ways and really help them. So that's overall some ideas on steps to support them. And now we come to setbacks, because inevitably there will be setbacks. And so there are various ideas to help. First of all, it's really recommended that we don't start any kind of formal potty training or formal process when there are other big changes. It's important to note that certainly my experience and the experience of most people that I've ever known is that potty training is not something that you can do in one weekend. And even where it looks like it's happened in one weekend, it's been a series of steps and learning and scaffolding over years. But the formal part of the process, it's best to start that when you've got some space, when there's not, a moving house or a new sibling or any big changes happening. The second thing to really consider is if you are having difficulties or challenges, constipation can be a really tricky beast. So it can actually result in all sorts of strange things, tummy aches and um, difficulty with continence, all sorts of things. So if you're concerned about constipation, then I would really suggest that you speak to your GP. Now, if you've ticked boxes here and checked all of those things, and you know that your child is developmentally ready, or even that they've been doing really well, and then suddenly there are some setbacks, fear is probably the culprit. Interestingly, these really basic bodily experiences can be really tied up with big emotions. It's important to know that it's difficult to reason with fear. So if we've got a 2.5 or a 3-year-old who's suddenly terrified of sitting on the toilet, explaining to them why it's not scary and why it's okay, sadly, is very rarely going to have good effect. And that's because the part of the brain that's really kicking off at that point isn't the reasonable part, isn't the thinking, the logical part, which is the prefrontal cortex. It's the limbic system and the survival brain. So one of the most powerful ways to support our child when they're experiencing some fear is play. Laughter and games can profoundly impact your child's confidence in using the potty or toilet. So along with the PowerPoint presentation from today, I'll be sending you a handout called Play Away Potty Time Challenges, and it'll give you lots of playful games to try. The more you can support your child to giggle and laugh, the more they're going to release the tensions, fears, and challenges that they're experiencing and be able to approach their toileting with confidence. So, some playful ideas to try. Songs can be a great way to get some giggles going. So, can you hear a tinkle, tinkle, tinkle? Can you hear a tinkle in the loo? Something silly like that. You can just make it up and get them giggling. Anything that gets the giggles going, other than tickling, is a good idea to follow. Another simple one is cereals in the toilet bowl. So, Cheerios, and they aim for them. That can get some giggles going. Putting some food colouring in there and seeing the different colours that it changes. And then in terms of really fun games, things like, I don't want to go. So you as the grown up pretending and saying, "Oh no, I need to go to the toilet, but I don't want to go. Oh, help me someone." And then hopefully your child at that point picks up on the game and holds your hand and says, "Come on, mummy, I'll help you." You say, "No, I'm scared of the toilet. You can't make me. I won't do it." Um, and running away and really hamming it up. And they know that this is a game. You've given them a wink beforehand. You've given them that tone. So they're really aware that this is a playful game. Um, and with their support, you finally go, "Oh, thank you. Oh, yay, I was able to do it." Or, "Oh no, I had an accident. Oh no, will you still love me even though I had an accident?" And that's a really important part of the process too, that sense that um, they're going to still have your love and your affection even if they make mistakes. So that them getting to play around with that and that power reversal can be really powerful for them. The pooing face is one my boys used to like. "I need to poo. What pooing face shall I use today?" And they get to make some silly faces at you. Another one that was popular in our house was getting the germs. So, "Watch out, germs. There's a big poo coming to splat on your head." And a 3-year-old child, I guarantee, will find that hilarious. Another one was, "Where should I go?" "Oh dear, I need to do a poo. I need to do a poo. I don't think I'm going to make it to the bathroom. Should I do it in this shoe?" Now, children really do understand that this is a joke and this is playful, and they find it hilarious. So, any games that you can come up with around mistakes, around messes, around getting it wrong, getting those giggles going, anything that gets the giggles going is going to support them to laugh and let go of some of the tensions that are driving their behaviours. As I said, the reasonable, rational part of the brain just is not generally online and able to hear us when we're explaining why it's a really sensible thing to go to the toilet at certain times of the day and in certain ways. So this playful approach can have beautiful results. So we're nearly at the end now, and I wanted to point out to you some resources for parents and carers so that if you are struggling, as all parents do at some point, there are lots of resources online to help you. Raising Children is a great website. It's the evidence-based Australian website for families. Hand in Hand Parenting, which a lot of today's talk is based on, is another great resource. And there are various other options there. Also, this workshop has a lot of ideas from AHA Parenting. She's a psychologist in the States. So it's important to know that potty time is not something you can be in control of. Um, it's very important to know early on that your child's body is really arguments about that is really something that you're very rarely going to be able to win. So your child needs to take the lead in this process. It's a partnership and you are the junior partner. So again, I can't stress this enough that stress, tension, punishments, disgust, all those negative emotions will all prolong the process and bring about hard times for everyone and potentially long-lasting issues. Please avoid them in any way that you can. But I also know that as a human who's been through this potty learning process yourself and is part of our culture and society, you may have some big feelings about bodies and about these processes. So it's important to find some support for yourself. Find a grown-up, so obviously not in your child's hearing, but find a grown-up you can express all these feelings to if you're having them. The disgust, the annoyance, the frustration, and have your own emotional poo so that you can show up for your little one feeling much more relaxed. So to recap, in summary, look for the signs that your child is developmentally ready, and then without any force or pressure, implement the simple steps that we've been through today to support your child. You can't make it happen, but you can provide the conditions to help them. Expect setbacks. Respond warmly and playfully to build your child's confidence with those. And remember, you deserve support. Find someone to talk to about any tough feelings you might be having. So finally, I'd love to hear your experience of today's webinar at the poll that's in the link here. That's really helpful for us and allows us to continue providing these free services thanks to funding from the Department for Communities. We've got lots of upcoming talks and workshops. Please check our website at www.miralinga.org.au. And please do contact me with any queries or feedback. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for all your hard work for your family. Your work is so important, it's vital, and you deserve so much support as you do it. Thank you, everyone.